What's up, Spider-Man fans, Marvel fans, and all the fans in between? If you stumbled on here and you're not a Spider-Man fan, thanks for joining us. Marvel-ous Movie Mondays, every Monday with Kelsey and Dill. Special Spider-Man No Way Home spoiler review. Usually we do reviews where it's like we just pile on all our thoughts and then at the end we talk about spoilers, but this is kind of one of those movies where you kind of can't talk about it without talking about spoilers. So we're just doing a blanket spoiler review. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, do not do anything else. Like it will ruin the movie for you. I just wanted to say that before we introduce even our co-host, because I just want you to know off the bat, do not keep going if you don't want to be spoiled. Anyway, Kelsey, how are you doing? How are you feeling? We're a day after seeing the movie. How you feel?
I'm like, am I a spoiler? I have nothing to do. I'm doing great, Dill. I have nothing to do with
Cool.
Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
Um,
So, Spider-Man No Way Home, John Watts' third movie in this trilogy, obviously produced by Sony, but of course, because of the Marvel deal, Disney's Marvel is able to like kind of work coincide with Sony, and a lot of speculation going into this. We tried to stay clear of most of it. I have my thoughts on just like the marketing itself, because I think that has a big role to play in just the enjoyment factor of this movie, but it really felt like old times with Endgame, with just the crowds cheering
yep,
and just
yep, yep.
every little moment and Easter egg happening, the crowd just erupting for. And I guess maybe that's just because we also went opening night. I don't know. Kelsey, just blanket thoughts on just the movie as a whole right now. Like where are you at? Because I tried my best not to hear your opinions. I heard a few of them sprinkled in, but I don't really know how you stand on this movie. So I'd like to know, Kelsey, what do you think?
Dill, there's things that I really liked about this movie. There's things that I really didn't like about this movie. I'll be
Cool.
honest. I'm not one
So
of
you're like
those
middle of the
people
road.
that yeah, I wouldn't even say I'm middle of the road. I can go on record and say that I liked the movie. I thought it was
Cool.
good. I thought it was a really good film. And
Cool.
I'm sure one day, like, I will get over my pride and be able to look at this film and be like, you know what? That was a good film. They did it
Gotcha.
well. I can
Hmm.
appreciate it for what it was.
Yeah, I
Honestly, a
agree.
lot of the issues, just really quick, a lot of the issues that I have with it before I get into things that I don't like aren't even about the movie. I'm just more mad at the fandom, if anything.
I
That's what I
agree.
realized.
I think that's the thing I want to talk about first, because I mentioned it a few seconds ago. The marketing. I think this movie was like, the idea is multiverse opens, like multiverse opens, all these villains come in, and then spoiler alert, it's happening now. If you haven't logged off by now, I'm just gonna say it. And the other Spider-Men come too. We knew it was kind of coming. We kind of had the feeling, especially with that trailer where the lizard's getting just punched by nothing. That was kind of like the one misstep. The Brazilian trailer really kind of ruined that surprise, but it was very clear that there was a very good possibility they would show up, and those leaks did prove to be true. But I almost think even the villains themselves, just knowing they were coming,
Mhm.
softens the blow a little. Like he's sitting in the freeway, like with all the cars on that bridge, and Doc Ock's coming 30 seconds before you even hear the ground grumbling, and it's like, imagine how that would have played, not knowing that he was even there.
Hello, Peter.
And I do think
Mhm.
Alfred Molina himself did kind of spoil he was in the movie, but if you didn't know when it was coming, if you didn't know that like the Electro stuff happened at night with those like electric towers, like if you didn't know that at the end it was Sandman, Lizard, and Electro, because then when certain twists happen, like Goblin is gonna go bad because we haven't seen him throw that pumpkin bomb yet, even when you think he's gone good, and there's all these different moments that you just can kind of see coming ahead because the marketing ruined it. And I'm not even saying like I was one of those people who sat down and dissected frame by frame the marketing, but like just watching the trailer at first glance, seeing the three
Mhm.
villains together, that this plan is going to go awry when Peter's trying to fix these villains. Um,
Yeah.
and I just kind of wish they hadn't even put the villains in the trailer at all. Maybe just the Hello Peter would have been enough, and that was. But fans were just annoying and wanted a second trailer, and I think that's what really kind of spoiled a lot of the big surprises. The biggest surprise obviously wasn't spoiled, but at that point when you saw those villains, you kind of assumed the other two were coming along with it. So um, I was a little just disappointed in the marketing, because I think this movie would have been even better had we not known that all those villains were showing up. If any of those villains were showing up, if you just make the
Yeah.
trailer about him and his identity and the stuff with Aunt May and Happy and Zendaya and Ned, Zendaya, MJ and Ned, like I think
Mhm.
that alone is like enough to get people to go to the theater. So I'm
Yeah.
mixed on the way it was marketed. So yeah, I agree
I
with you.
agree. And you know what? There were a lot of posters. I think that they were just so excited They were so excited about the fact that they were having the past villains in this movie because they
Yeah.
made so many posters that all
Mhm.
featured the Doc Ock tentacles. You always saw a Green Goblin flying around in the
Mhm.
background. Like, they were stoked that they were giving us this film to the point that they just, like, couldn't
Yeah.
contain it. But I agree 100%. Like, that movie would have been so much more exciting for me had I not known about, like, all the villains. Like, oh my god,
Mhm.
could you imagine one after another, they all just, like,
Yeah.
turned, and we were all like, "No way! Oh my
Uh-huh.
god, this is
Yeah.
crazy."
And I mean,
And
there were
then
certain villains we didn't know, like with Lizard and Sandman, we didn't know if the actual actors were playing them or if they were just CGI. And we did
sure.
learn that, like, Thomas Hayden Church and oh my god, I'm blanking on his name. The guy who plays a lizard. I'm so sorry. Reese Ifans. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Like him showing up. Like, we didn't know that they were playing them, which was kind of a surprise. But even then, it's like I would have loved to not even know Goblin was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
No,
it's
yeah,
stuff
I
like that,
agree.
especially because his entrance just kind of comes and then it's like boom, and then he's in the next room, and you're like, wait, what happened with Goblin? Um, but yeah, I think the
I
marketing didn't ruin the film, but did soften some of the bigger surprises for sure.
I that's the biggest problem that I have with this film, Dill,
Hmm.
is that I just wasn't surprised enough. I was upset that we as a fandom called almost every big moment in this film. We
Yeah.
called from the beginning that Toby and Andrew were going to be involved. We called, like, the footage of him leaked, like, of him, like, holding onto the scaffolding of, like,
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield, and
Yeah.
everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's him. He's in the
Hmm.
movie." And then they would try to backpedal and say, no, it was just photoshopped, it's fan made, it's whatever. It's like, no, that was real. I hope
Hmm.
someone got fired for that. Oh my god, that
Yeah.
bothered me so much. and
Hmm.
and the and the moment where Zendaya is falling off the building, and
Yeah.
everyone said this is when Toby's not Toby Andrew's
Andrew.
gonna get his yeah, Andrew is
Oh,
going to
yeah.
get his big redemption moment where he's going to be able to save MJ because he couldn't save Gwen. We called that one too.
I
Everyone
know.
was freaking out in the theaters. I literally
Hmm.
said out loud, I said, everyone calm down. We all know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
And then it
Exactly.
did
Hmm.
because, and that's the point that I was most, like, disappointed in, is that, like,
Yeah.
all these moments, like, we saw coming. And I was like, well, this would have been way better if we
Hmm.
all just, I don't know, like, I don't even know
Right. No,
who to
I
be
agree.
mad at. The fandom, if we all just shut the fuck up online and didn't say
Yeah,
anything.
but even like me, like I didn't dissect the trailer, but as soon as I saw that moment, I said, "Oh, this is going to be Andrew," because it was such a clear parallel. And
Yeah.
I really think that first trailer was enough. Like, I really, because that honestly is, in my opinion, the least just exciting stuff is at the beginning, just because it's like before we dive into the multiverse and all that stuff. It's just kind of like oh, here's what happened last time and how we're like kind of processing it. Like, his life's different. That was interesting, but like that to me is probably the least interesting part of the movie. And I would have been fine though. The trailer would have still excited me enough with that. I think the major surprises that we didn't see coming were obviously the big death in the film, which we'll talk about, and then just the
Mhm.
concept of this, not the villains coming together to attack him, but rather the villains just kind of being in this universe and him trying to save these villains one by one. I thought that was an interesting pivot from what we expected it to be, because all I expected it to be was villains coming together, Sinister Sixing this stuff. But
Yeah.
another thing, we didn't get six, we only got five, and I guess we did get a sixth in the post credits, which we'll also talk about. But
Mhm.
that was another thing too. I'm like, if you're just gonna do Sinister Six, just do six. But yeah, I think there are a lot of things to enjoy about this movie, and I don't want to be like harping on the bad stuff, but I think that is one
Yeah.
of the main reasons why it was not as effective for me and you as we expected it to be. I still think it's a great movie, probably top tier MCU, but like,
Yeah.
I really think had I not seen a trailer at all, and it's just at this point, you go to the movies, you can't avoid trailers, as much as you try. Like, I don't purposely rewatch them, but if I'm in the theater, I'm not just gonna like look down at my popcorn and go like this and hope I don't hear any of the trailer. It's just like inevitable.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but let's talk about some of the stuff we did like, because the marketing aside, like, this is a good movie, especially in the fact that I've been saying it for years. The first Spider-Man Homecoming was Iron Man kind of guiding. It seemed like Iron Man was too much of an influence. Far From Home, Iron Man's death was too much of an influence. Here, I felt like It was Tom shining. It was Spider-Man's story. And the people you bring in are other
Yeah.
Spider-Man characters, but they didn't seem to override the narrative. Rather, they helped the narrative. They honestly kind of acted as like guides to show him like the perspective of his own life. You know, like having the other two Spider-Men, I think it got much stronger when they came in because they kind of served as like those moral compasses, but also like
Mhm.
that relatability that I think Peter needed to kind of get over not just May's death, spoiler alert. I mean, it's down there, spoilers, but like May's death and also just like everything that has happened with his friends and MIT and all
Yeah.
that. So what did you think of this just as like a Spider-Man movie? Do you agree
I thought it was definitely the strongest
of
of
the
the
trilogy?
3,
I agree.
and it was everything that I've been waiting for. Is like
Yeah.
Tom, like, doing his Spidey, his Peter
Hmm.
stuff, combining his, like, smarts. He has gotten better at, like, using his Peter tingle.
Hmm.
Like, he's gotten really good in, like, combat and everything. Like, we
Hmm.
saw, like, some really, like, angry moments as,
Yeah.
with Peter Parker as,
Yeah.
as Spider-Man this
It was
film, and I
much
was on.
darker. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it a
Hmm.
lot. I thought that
Yeah.
this is a great film for him. I also really liked how MJ and Ned were incorporated throughout the
Hmm.
film. Like, they didn't
Yeah.
feel like dead weight or chuffa or anything like that. Like, they felt very
Yeah.
necessary to the whole
Oh
operation
yeah.
of things. And
And
honestly,
yeah.
Ned's arc this film, I liked almost. I
Mhm.
think it was my favorite thing in the film.
The one thing they pivoted away from that I thought they were going toward, because in the beginning when they all opened the MIT letters, there was a moment where I was going, "Oh, this is the start of Ned's villain turn." But I like how they didn't go
Mm,
that route, and they even made a joke about it with him saying like, "I'm not gonna turn on you. Don't worry, I won't." And now,
yeah,
judging by the end of the film, who knows what'll happen with Ned? But like, I
sure.
really liked how they kind of just instead made him like this Wong to Doctor Strange character, like being this kind of like sidekick. Well, even though now we know Wong is the head guy in charge now, but like, the whole idea of him being like the sidekick and being able to actually, contribute to the battle and like actually make a difference. And like, I really liked his arc. Yeah, I think it was really, really good. Let's talk about Wong and Doctor Strange, because like I feel like that was the one
Okay.
element where I was like Doctor Strange needed to be there, but he seemed like the most there for the plot device. Like he didn't really seem to have really his own arc. What did you think about just that character in general?
Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so part of the reason why I really didn't want Toby and Andrew in this film was because I thought that it was going to be like a whole Doctor Strange and Peter team up and they were going to be
Mm,
like fighting together the whole
okay.
time. Once you get, we were like halfway, I would say we were still kind of in the first act of the film,
Mhm.
and Doctor Strange is not there anymore. Peter actually like locks him into the mirror realm
Right.
for the rest of the film. I was game. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, good. He served his purpose. Peter's gonna go do his
Mhm.
own thing now. This is exactly how I wanted the
Mhm.
movie to go.
Yeah.
And then when Toby and Andrew did come in, I was like, okay, this feels better now. Because
Yeah.
now it doesn't feel like he has 3 helping hands with him, he only has 2.
Yeah, and it's
So
not
I
just
can
like
I'll
yeah, and
I'll take it.
it's not this polar opposite of Doctor Strange or Tony Stark helping him either. It's two other iterations of himself. And I think this movie
Mhm.
was a great reminder to just Spider-Man fans of who Spider-Man is. Not necessarily this Peter or that Peter or that Peter. They all kind of together kind of symbolize like the greater good and this whole like pacifist kind of notion of like, we don't just kill. We try to help and we try to cure.
Mhm.
And I really like using the science also as an angle, because we kind of forget in both the other two Spider-Man franchises, like he's a really smart scientist, and we don't really get a lot of that with Tom Holland's Peter. Like I don't think
Mhm.
we've ever really dove into that as much. Like Shuri has always been like the scientist of that young crew, but I like how now we
Mhm.
kind of get that, and we see that parallel with the three of them. Kind of doing all the science stuff together. Like I really like those moments, and I was worried it would be too much of like just like fan service nostalgia. But I feel like when they came in, it kind of started getting the emotional core of the movie, because you kind of got to see all the parallels, and that moment where they're talking about Uncle Ben and Aunt May and Gwen, like all the people they've lost, and they can connect with that.
Yeah.
I think that was
Yeah.
so important for Tom Holland's Peter to hear. And I think that really propelled him into this next phase, because we know he signed on for another trilogy, so we know he's going to be in it. We don't know about Zendaya and Jacob Batalon, and I don't even know if we'll see them again. That's something we can also theorize about. But like we know he's going to still be around. You see, he gets the new suit. He's kind of going now to be that neighborhood Spider-Man, because I feel like the thing with Spider-Man in the MCU has been he hasn't been this friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's been off
Yeah.
in Italy on his field trip.
Mhm.
He's been off in space with the Avengers. He's not gotten to be the neighborhood Spider-Man. And I like how now it's
He
like he
disappeared for
can just
5
be.
years.
Yeah, and now he's kind of disappeared in general, like because Peter doesn't exist to anyone, including the
Yeah.
Avengers, which is crazy. And I like how he can now just kind of be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and no one knows who he is. And
Yeah.
the last person to really know him was his aunt. Which let's segue to that. What did you think of the Aunt May moment? I know we're
Okay.
not going in order of any of the events, but it's just
No,
kind of one of
yeah.
those general conversations. We're not
No, yeah,
structuring it
for
like a
sure.
real review. Like let's just talk about that moment because that was probably the biggest surprise to me.
That was definitely the biggest
Yeah.
surprise. Everyone had Happy pegged as the big Uncle Ben death for
Right,
him.
right.
And honestly, I'm upset. I'm upset to lose Marissa
Marissa Tomei.
Tomei.
Yeah, I know. It's
She's
unfortunate.
a tough loss, especially like losing her, but then having like watching Happy lose her. And then like at the end at the grave, I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
really feel for these two characters right
Yeah.
now.
It's like
Um
it's kind of like
sh-
that thing where like everyone was mad that Gamora died in Infinity War and Black Widow in Endgame because it's like all these great female characters are getting killed off. But I do think that gave Peter a much more emotional purpose in that second half of
mhm.
the movie than if Happy had died. I think if Happy had died, it would have been really sad, but it would have been like, oh well, at least I've got you, Aunt May. But now it's like he really doesn't
Sure.
have anyone besides
He doesn't
MJ and Ned, and now he really doesn't
really
have
doesn't
anyone.
have anyone.
Yeah, all he has is the
I
guy he's paying rent to, which I hoped would be the same guy from the original Spider-Man trilogy, but it was not.
Dill, you're funny because we were sitting next to each other in the theater, and as soon as she got, rocked by Green Goblin, and then she started like everyone was like, "Oh my god, she just got taken out." But then she starts moving on the ground, and you audibly went, "Oh, thank God." And then that entire scene though, I was nervous.
Uh,
I was like, "This bitch is about to collapse. I know it. I know she's not okay." And as soon as she hit him with the "with great power comes great responsibility" line, I was like, her goose is
yeah,
cooked. This is
yeah,
done.
yeah. It was an emotional roller coaster. But then when it happened to Toby later, it made me a little less concerned because I don't think they would have done that twice, where they kind of just
Mm.
stand and he's like, because he says he's like, yeah, I've been stabbed before, and Andrew goes like, you're in a lot of pain, right? He was like, yeah, and I was like, there's no way they would do it twice, where he's standing there saying he's okay, and then
Oh,
just
yeah, and
falls
then he
to his
just
death.
collapses.
Because I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
that would have
yeah.
been literally a copycat of before, and I don't think you needed to do that. The only thing I had hoped they would have done was shown Toby going back to his MJ, and Andrew Garfield going back to his Aunt May after that. But I get why they didn't. That would
Yeah.
have been very like into the Spider-Verse ending ish. Um,
Yeah,
but
sure.
yeah, like I was expecting to see Kirsten Dunst. She was the one that I was like, oh, I'm surprised they didn't show her. But yeah,
Honestly, when Toby was stabbed, that was one of the most intriguing parts because I didn't see it coming. I was like,
really,
"Oh my god, they're going to
because
kill Toby? This is amazing." I almost got excited because I was like,
you hate
"Listen,
Toby.
no, not because I hate Toby, just because like no one called that and no one
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
no one saw it coming." I
yeah.
will say though, I will give it to them. The way they introduced the two into the
hmm
universe was very creative.
I really like
I
that.
appreciated that moment.
Because I was expecting it to happen. Like, I honestly thought maybe that Zendaya moment where she's falling would be the introduction. And I was like,
Oh,
because if you introduce them both mid battle, it would be a cool moment. It would probably be like this like big surprise. But at the same time, I like how it was a very mellow introduction. Like it was very much controlled and like grounded. And I like that because it's been so long since we've seen them to kind of reacquaint ourselves, especially because there's been so much change. Andrew's a little older, but Toby especially is much older. And he's almost
mhm,
kind of like that Jake Johnson in Into the Spider-Verse. He's much
mhm.
older. He's got back problems. And I love that when he was like, oh, my back, like crack my back for me. Like I like how they kind of stuck with the idea that he was a little older, and it made for an interesting character because I know you were never really the hugest fan of his in this role, but I do think this is a very different version of even that Peter. Like I think
Mhm.
it's interesting to see him older, kind of like with Star Wars, what they've done with the newer Star Wars movies, seeing the original characters older, like it just creates a much more interesting dynamic because it's still them, but they've already gone through so much that we have not seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that moment where he got stabbed was quite surprising, but as soon as he was holding the glider and looking at him, I was like, Norman is right behind him with a literal knife on his hand. Like that dude better turn around. Like in that moment I was like, oh shit. Because I gotta say,
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe scared the crap out of me in this movie, and like hands down my favorite performance of the villains. Like let's talk about the villains. Like
Mm.
it was very exciting seeing them all back. Let's go villain by villain and talk about them. First, we get Otto Octavius, who is just it's Alfred Molina. He's great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he looked really good with the de aging. Like they did a really good job de-aging him, which was pretty impressive because sometimes
I
in CGI it looks very fake. Or
yeah.
but they've done a good job with Samuel L. Jackson and Captain Marvel, and now with Alfred Molina in this, like making him look younger.
I honestly
Like
didn't even know that that was
yeah,
like
there you go.
CGI.
Yeah, it looked great. But I liked his turn also, just to kind of be better because he always kind of was the one that like it was the machine that made him evil rather than just like having a malicious intent. Like all these guys like let the power get to them, but him especially, it was like those arms were almost kind of their own character, their own beast. And I liked how he was the first to break, and like he kind of became part of the cause, and he gets that
Mhm.
moment at the end where he's like, coming in to save, and you think he's gonna destroy the Spider-Man, but then he puts them down and instead goes for Electro. And I thought that was great. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, did you like his arc in this?
No, yeah, totally, for sure.
Yeah.
I as yeah, I'm glad that like cuz he always seemed like the one from the beginning that was the most like able to convince to like come to the good
Right.
side
Right.
kind of thing. And
Mhm.
then I loved the moment with like Aunt May and Norman
Otto.
Osborn.
Oh, Norman. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, I'm sorry, I moved on to him
Okay, yeah, we moved. Well, I was gonna
because
say the Aunt May saltwater bit was funny though. The
oh
and the
yes, that
octopus. Yeah,
that
that was
yes,
funny. Yes, but
that
go on
was
to
very
Norman. Yeah,
cute.
let's talk about Norman because I want to talk a lot about him.
He was great because we have this moment with him in the homeless shelter or the
Hmm.
food bank or whatever it is that Aunt May's running, and she's like she's the one that he yes, she's the one that no, he's the one that she really connects with.
Yeah.
Sorry. Had to get my pronouns in order there. Um because he's the one that convinces her like no, these people like they need help, like this is what
Hmm.
we do, we help
Right.
people, we're not just going to send them back
Hmm.
to their as perspective universes to die because like look at this is a man in trouble, he's
Yeah.
confused clearly.
Yeah.
And they give us this sweet little soft little Norman Osborn to go, "Aw, but he's so harmless and so innocent." So then when he does turn, it feels like such a
Hmm.
stab. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's such a betrayal.
Yeah, because you think him smashing the mask in the beginning is like him being like, "I'm done,"
Yeah.
but then it's like, nope, he's not. And I love that turn where he's just kind of has that spidey sense. He's looking around the room, and I knew
Mhm.
it was gonna be Norman, but like, I really think it was interesting to see all of them because Electro's toying around with it, but I never expected him to be the one to break the camel's back.
Sure.
Sandman was a little surprising just because he is like a good guy. Like in Spider-Man 3, he was never really a villain. It was just like he thought Spider-Man was standing in his way of getting home to his daughter or whatever. And like I've always
Mhm.
empathized with him. So I thought it was interesting that he ended up teaming up with the villains at the very end in that big fight. But again, I liked his moment with Toby at the end too. The lizard is the only one I was a little on just because like something with the
Yeah.
CGI was a little weird. It looked very obviously fake compared to like you have Rocket Raccoon who looks so real, and then to
Sure.
have this guy like he looked very fake, and it looked like almost they were using effects from 2011 when that movie came out. But um, that was the only character I was like, I wish a little bit more from. But like Electro also really fun and had that great moment at the
Yeah.
end where he kind of teased Miles Morales coming in at some point with his
Yeah.
"I expect you to be black" line, which is going to be interesting because we heard in Homecoming Donald Glover said he had a nephew, so um,
Yes,
they
yes,
could
we
be getting
did.
Miles sooner
Good
rather than later.
callback, Dill.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, Lizard was kind of a letdown for me as well, just because you didn't know really where he stood.
mhm,
Like you could like there were moments of him in the truck and he kind of felt that like, oh, the villains are kind of like going crazy now. And he has this like little line where he goes, "Oh, and so it's begun." And then he just like kind of breaks free, like almost like
mhm,
he was just looking for an opportunity to just like go crazy.
right.
But
Yeah.
I don't
It was
know. And then
interesting.
Electro was interesting because he was always the one that was like, no, like I got a taste of the power I can do here. I'm staying here. I'm fucking shit
Yeah.
up. Like this is gonna be
Yeah.
great.
And I love Jamie
And
Foxx
yeah.
too. Just so
Yeah.
good.
And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
just so fun to watch and
Um,
everything. So
because we got Suicide Squad earlier this year, which was like the villains like literally coming together, and it was kind of like this band of misfits. And I was wondering if they were going to go that route, especially with like the
mm,
leave the lizard in the car. It kind of reminded me of like leave King Shark in the car because he's just going to eat shit. And I
yeah.
was almost wondering if they were going that direction where like they all would turn good, and then they would all need to chase down like Norman or something. But I get why like they split up, and then it became like Otto with the Spider-Man versus like Sandman, Lizard, Electro, and all that. Let's talk about one of the other villains we saw. That was Venom.
Mm,
That post-credit scene. Like, what do you
Phil,
think?
don't even get me started. I was waiting for Venom the whole movie. I
Mhm.
wanted him there. He was the only character that I really wanted to just pop up because
Mhm.
even Toby like said something about he
The
was like,
ball of
"Oh,
goo or something, yeah.
yeah, I battled an alien that was like full of goo or something." And Andrew was like, "I've never taken on an alien. Damn, you guys are so much cooler than me." And then
Yeah.
it was cute how they did the whole bit where Toby was like, "No, you're amazing," because he's in the
Yeah.
Amazing
Yeah.
Spider-Man
And I like how it
movies.
was almost like a meta commentary too. Like Andrew's like, "Oh, I'm not as cool as that," because his movies were never as cool as that.
Yeah,
And we'll talk about the 3 Spider-Man because I have a question to ask you later. But like, yeah, talk about
sure.
Venom though. Venom.
But yeah, I was waiting for Venom the whole time. We don't get him in the movie. We only got him in a post-credit scene where he's in Mexico trying to and okay, so I put this together on the way home. So at the end of Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, we get a post-credit scene where Eddie Brock is posted up somewhere vacation style esque, somewhere tropical, and all
Mhm.
of a sudden his background changes and his screen is playing the news broadcast of J. Jonah Jameson reporting about Peter Parker,
Yeah.
about Spider-Man's identity. So I didn't really know what to take of that. Like I didn't really know what like that meant. I put together then later on that like, oh, that was the moment where Doctor Strange did the spell.
Yeah.
It went wrong. It transported him
Gotcha.
into
Mhm.
this universe. So
Interesting.
now he's in this universe just stuck in Mexico. And he's trying to figure out like where he is, why this is happening to him. And as soon as he decides, oh, I guess we got to go to New York then and go talk to this like Peter Parker guy, he gets taken back into his own universe. Not before some of Venom though is left on the counter. So
Love
we
that.
have opportunities for another
Yeah.
Venom-esque character to be in this universe.
Mhm.
But I wanted it to be Eddie Brock. I wanted it to be
I
Tom
know.
Hardy. I
I know.
love them. Oh my
I
God. And when I say them, I mean I love Tom Hardy and I
yeah.
love Venom.
Yeah, yeah. I think this was also kind of a way to give them the option to stay or go. Like I think at the end of this, it really could be like I kind of alluded to it earlier. I don't know if we'll see MJ and Ned again because honestly, I think where Peter left it, and we could talk about the ending, like how he kind of saw them and was like, you know what, maybe they're better off just without me. And like obviously that's sad, but it's like kind of this moment
Mm,
of growth for him where he's like, you know what, I just want to focus on me first, maybe, or it's just like a literal letting them go. And like if our crowds pass someday, our crowds pass because our paths cross. But yeah, like at the end, I was like, honestly, that's a really interesting round. I didn't think Marvel would go there because usually they're prioritizing the comedy and the feel good and the fan service. But like I think the
mhm,
fan servicey ending would have been for her to like give him a smile and then for them to like fall in love. But I liked how it was a more
mhm.
somber ending of like, you know what, you guys seem okay and like I don't want to ruin your lives again. I don't want to be a burden, and I don't think he was a burden, but I think in his
Yeah.
mind he was. And it takes a lot out of them. And I do like that moment where he just says no, that's all, thank you, and leaves.
Yeah.
It's a really powerful moment, and I love the ending of this. I love that choice because then he's just swinging with his new suit. I love also how he ditched the mechanical suit. I've always said I liked it better when Spider-Man was like the traditional Spider-Man. I've always been a
Mm,
traditionalist in that sense. Like I didn't
mhm,
like the Iron Spider suit. I was like, that's Iron Man's thing. Let Spider-Man be Spider-Man.
mhm.
And we saw he sewed his own costume and then like went taken off, and it was Christmas time. So my thought is maybe this is their way of saying, hey, Spider-Man's ready to move on to his own new chapter. And there's two ways my mind went. We're gonna get a Gwen Stacy in this universe, or maybe because he was swinging over Rockefeller Center. What do we think? Do we ship Peter Parker with perhaps Kate Bishop? Because as soon as I saw him swinging over Rockefeller, I went, wouldn't that be interesting if he shows up at the end of Hawkeye and ends up meeting Kate Bishop after all this? Because I would ship it.
I gotta say, I think Peter Parker's a little young for Kate Bishop.
Really? Isn't she? Is
Well,
she out of college? Oh
I
yeah,
think she
he hasn't
well,
gone
I
to
think
college yet.
she's in college. I think she's in college, so she's gotta
You're
be,
right.
like, 20 or 21,
Hmm.
and he's, like, a fresh 18-year-old. I
But
mean,
he
I
did
know
blip, so he would have. They were born in
okay, but
probably
he
the same
blipped.
year. I know. Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that, but I was thinking because as
No,
soon
but
as he was going over Rockefeller Center, I was like, oh, are they going to bring him in the Hawkeye? Because we do see the Steve
Mm,
Rogers the musical billboard in the beginning. So I was wondering, I
yeah.
was like, maybe they're gonna him meet up with Kate. But
Wow.
you're right. There might be an age gap there. But what do you
If
think
he
for his character? Like, what do you think he's going to like the next chapter? Because he's gonna have another trilogy. It's gonna be his college trilogy. Do you think it's gonna dive into his relationship with Ned and MJ, or do you think he's gonna kind of let them go and kind of explore his new path? Because also the Avengers now don't know who he is either. So like there's a good chance this is like I said with the Venom thing, like this is Sony's opportunity to either say, "Oh, we'll have a Venom in the MCU and keep Eddie Brock, Tom Hardy in his own universe." They could also do the same here and say, "You know what? I think this is our chance to separate him from the Avengers and just have him go off and do his own thing, his own trilogy, and like kind of give him his own path." Because like we've already seen him with the Avengers, now he can be that friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like, what do you think is next for him, and what do you think they're gonna do with his character?
Here's what I gotta say, Dill.
Yeah.
First of all, in when I was watching the end, and Zen Zendaya, MJ just kind of looks past Tom and starts like, friendly waving
Oh boy,
to Ned behind him.
I was really
I
worried.
fully thought that they were gonna like he was gonna walk in and they were gonna kiss and it was
Me
gonna be
too.
like
Me
they
too.
were in a relationship. And I was like, oh my God, like this is gonna be so hard. They
Hmm.
didn't kiss.
Right.
They were just
Thank
very
God,
clearly friends. It was
because that
nothing
would have been
romantic at all.
so sad.
I would have
Not
been like,
because I don't like Ned, but like, oof, that would have been a heartbreaker.
I, and I was like, wow, I can't believe they're like, it's a wonderful lifing this movie right now. Like
Hmm.
now he lives in a universe where no one knows who he is.
Hmm.
Um, I honestly didn't think about that when I fully intended walking out first, without thinking about it too much. I fully intended on like the next chapter of him
Being him trying to
still
get MJ back.
being with MJ and Ned.
Right. Hmm.
It kind of upsets me thinking about that there could be a trilogy without
Hmm.
Zendaya and Jacob Batalon because
Yeah.
especially Ned, like I love Ned. You got to get
Hmm.
if not your girlfriend, you got to get your best friend
Hmm.
back, right? I feel
Well,
like
well,
Ned's an easier
yeah.
get
They
get
they could
get.
they could go the route of Spider-Man, like the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, where it's like she doesn't know who Spider-Man is, and they share that kiss. Like we might see like Spider-Man
Mm,
himself falling in love with MJ, and then like her knowing meeting Peter, but also Harry dated MJ in that Raimi trilogy, and Harry in this universe is Ned. It's like the best friend, and I know
mm.
he said he wouldn't become a bad supervillain, but that was before he got his memory erased of Peter. And I could
But
very well see them going that route in the future if they do keep these characters around. I could very well see that love triangle of like MJ and Ned do start a thing, and then Ned goes to become the villain, and then Peter has to like meet MJ again for the first time. But again, I don't know. Like I think this is a chance to either go that direction or say we're gonna totally take Spider-Man in a new direction.
but
And I don't know.
there is a very good chance that they're just parting ways because Ned and MJ got into MIT. And they're
Right.
going to be up
And
in
Peter
Boston
didn't because Peter doesn't exist anymore.
and he's going to be being Spider-Man in New York City. So I don't know. It could be a goodbye to Zendaya
Yeah,
and Jacob
I don't
Batalon.
know. I really feel at the end when he did not like say I love you or anything like that, that was my way of saying,
Mhm.
you know what? He's totally going on his own separate chapter, and I'm not mad about that. I love Zendaya as an actress. I love Jacob Batalon, but like at the
Mhm.
same time, we could always bring them back whenever. But like I think it's
Sure.
interesting to kind of have Peter be just kind of like on his own now and just kind of like experiencing that adulthood and um yeah, I don't know how it's gonna go, but it's very interesting direction. I really didn't expect them to end on that note. Like I knew they would
Yeah.
have deep moments because we saw in the trailer that shot of him crying, and we know it's in context to the Aunt May death. But like I knew it would get dark and deep, but I didn't expect it to
Mhm.
end like that. But I honestly really liked the ending. Like I was really on board with
Yeah.
what they were doing because now there's that question, but also there's that optimism of like he can just kind of start anew. Especially visiting that grave because May was
Yeah.
the last person who knew him as Peter because no one else now
As
knows him.
I mean, I as far as like a future love interest goes, I feel like maybe they wouldn't do a Gwen Stacy for him in this universe just
Mm,
because maybe like but they already had an MJ and maybe they're going to I
hmm.
don't know cuz I'm just thinking like maybe they're just going to let Gwen Stacy be like Andrew's thing.
Yeah, but Spider
Like
Gwen in the animated is Haley Steinfeld, so maybe I'm
yeah.
right. Maybe Kate
Oh my
Bishop
god,
is
that's
going to be
true.
Spider Gwen. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. But
I don't
yeah,
think so either, but
because do we think he's ever going to rejoin the Avengers too? There's that question because Happy didn't
that's
recognize
another
him.
thing.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, okay, so here's my question. To answer your question with a question. So they know that they fought with Spider-Man. They just don't know
I guess
who's
like
under
that's
the
what's weird to
mask
me. The Happy part was weird because he says I knew her from Spider-Man, and Happy
through
says yeah me,
Spider-Man.
yeah me too, which means Happy knows
Yeah.
Spider-Man, but Happy doesn't know Peter. Maybe all of their memories when they got Peter erased, it was always just Spider-Man in that
Mm.
circumstance. They just don't ever
Mhm.
really put it together who it is. Like it was weird to me too. And maybe they'll address it. And that's the one thing about these movies is they're all connected. So like an hour of the next Avengers or Spider-Man film is going to be addressing that, kind of like how this was addressing Far From Home for like good 20 minutes. But
Sure.
that's just expected.
But honestly, I feel like at any point he could go to Doctor Strange and be like, "You performed this spell to make everyone forget me, but we did fight together." And Doctor Strange would be like, "Yeah, that tracks. I believe you. Let's go." Like I
Hmm.
feel like it could
Yeah.
be as simple as that
Hmm. Or
because I don't.
all it takes is him fighting alongside him, taking off the mask, and be like, "By the way, guys, I'm Peter. I'm the guy behind the mask," and then all is forgiven.
Oh, yeah, that's
Um,
true. Yeah.
but who knows? I
Yeah,
think it'd
yeah,
be a
yeah, yeah.
weird introduction. Like that's what makes me really think he might just go on and do his own thing. Because then also Disney doesn't have to worry about the whole Sony crossover thing. They could just be like, "All right, Sony, you can have him back." Um, I don't know.
No.
Well, I
I
mean,
don't
like
want that to
it'll
happen.
still be the MCU, but like I don't know if we're gonna see him. Like I don't think we'll see him in Multiverse of Madness for sure. Which we also have to talk about in a sec. But one other thing I wanted to bring up,
Sure.
another huge cameo, and this is actually really
Yes.
crazy given that we also got Kingpin this week, but we did see Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock, the Daredevil, in a very short scene. But our
Yeah.
crowd erupted for that.
Yeah.
And
He was
I
in it
saw
for like 12 seconds.
a few people being like, "Wait, who's that? Who's that?" Because it's one of those things where some people just haven't watched the TV shows, including me and you. But like, I still knew who he
Mhm.
was, and I was excited. Also because he's blind, and I love that moment where he catches the brick. I'm like,
Mhm.
this is cool. This is cool. I like how they're kind of saying now it's like we're not just going to be our own separate MCU. Like we can still honor the performances of these people because there's a reason they were cast. Is because Charlie Cox is a really good Daredevil. So like, why recast it when we could just bring him in
Mhm.
and just make it a thing?
Wow.
Yeah, were you
Well, now
excited for
we
that? Or I
now
mean,
we
you haven't seen
definitely
the
have.
show, so
I mean, I haven't seen the show. I don't know anything about this character.
cool.
But he really was only in it for like 2
Yeah,
minutes. Like
yeah,
everyone freaked out.
yeah. Like
And
I think
our audience was freaking out so much. I don't think I heard a word of what he said
right.
his entire scene.
Yeah,
All I heard was after he caught the brick and Peter was like, "How'd you do that?" He's like, "I'm a really good lawyer." And then it was
yeah.
like already on to the next scene.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the stuff where it's like, did he need to be in it? Absolutely not. But like, people are gonna love it, and like
Wow,
that's the
this
thing
is
with like fan
another
servicing.
Dill, he might be in Hawkeye because this is another thing that connects him to being in Hawkeye is the
Yeah,
fact
because
that now we
Kingpin.
have Daredevil and Kingpin,
Yeah,
and it's Christmas time.
yeah.
I'm gonna be
I
deceased.
The only issue
I
I have
won't.
is that Hawkeye is gonna come out Wednesday, and some people will have not seen the movie yet. So like, I don't know if they're gonna bring in
Is it
Spidey.
the last episode on Wednesday?
Yeah, our season finale is coming up. Like next Monday is our last episode for the year, our last podcast till mid January. Like we're all coming to an end of this MCU phase. Not phase 4, but like this whole year of MCU, which has been crazy. We've gotten
Yeah.
so much. Um, and speaking of, we're gonna get something in 2022, and that is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We got the first trailer in the credits, and this was the one
Yeah.
spoiler besides everything we saw in the trailer and all the speculation. This was the one spoiler that someone did confirm to me because they said, "Oh, like I just heard someone tweet about the Doctor Strange trailer," and I was like, "How did anyone see it?" And then I just thought, "Oh, they must show it at the end because it's normal." Like they showed the Into the Spider-Verse trailer at the end of Venom when that first came out. Like I expected they might do it, especially since Doctor Strange was an integral part of this. And it's funny because we were with our friend James, and he was like, "I just want to see Wanda. I want to see Wanda," and he did technically see Wanda.
Mhm.
But I'm interested because like our theater at first was like, "Wait, what's going on? What's going on? Is this like a post credits? Is this a trailer?" And I knew it was a trailer, but like, what were your reactions to that trailer? Because it's hard to like break it down since we don't have the actual footage right on us, to actually
Yeah,
watch it again
yeah.
and dissect it. But first thoughts, what do you think?
I mean, it was definitely interesting. I
Hmm.
don't know what problem they're fixing.
Yeah, I was.
Is it the whole issue of like all the cracks in from
See, I don't know
Spider-Man?
because it feels
I
like
don't
they
remember.
resolved it. That's the thing. They opened this multiverse in Loki, WandaVision, and Spider-Man now, but they seem to have closed it in Spider-Man. And we know we're getting a Loki.
Oh.
We're getting a Loki season 2. So like maybe this is something that Wanda opened, but at the same time, it's just like I wish it was just all the same thing. Like
Oh,
maybe keep
yeah,
this open ended, and then like do the Peter memory erase, but like the multiverse is still open. That way you can bring Loki, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange together, and Wanda to fix this whole thing. I do think
yeah,
we'll see Wanda. I mean, we are gonna see Wanda. I think we might see Loki in Multiverse of Madness, maybe
yeah.
Sylvie, but like it was just very interesting seeing the trailer. Yeah, because I was like, wait, what are they fixing? What's the problem?
The biggest threat. I mean, we did see his friend. What's his friend's name again?
Mordo,
Mordo. We saw Mordo in this
yeah,
trailer. Obviously, we
who
saw Wanda.
who was rocking the dreads. Loved
Yeah, absolutely. A
it.
great look for him.
Yeah.
And then the biggest threat, seemingly, the biggest villain from Multiverse of Madness is like this anti-evil Doctor Strange. Dare
Mhm.
I say the Doctor Strange from the What If episode where he consumes all the
Sorcerer Supreme,
demons
yeah.
in order
Or what
to.
is it called? Not the Sorcerer Supreme. I don't remember. Is it the Sorcerer Supreme? The evil Doctor? I don't know the name for it. Does he have a
I don't
name?
know the name for him either, but the Sorcerer Supreme is just like the most powerful
Yeah,
wizard.
and that's Wong, which is
And
cool.
that's Wong.
Yeah, that was a reveal. I
It's
think that
Wong.
should have been a bigger deal than it was, but I guess because of just the context of what is going on,
Yeah.
it makes sense why he was the one summoning Shang-Chi and Shang-Chi, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I like that because now that kind of might create a rift between Wong and Doctor Strange in the next one too, because Wong now has the power,
Sure.
and he was the one advised Doctor Strange, like leave me out of it, which is also interesting because in the trailer it's more like Wong asks for something and Doctor Strange disobeys him, but in this version it was made very clear that it was just Wong being like, I don't care what you do, just leave me out of it, which is a nice little pivot from some of the trailer, because they like to fuck with us in the trailers for sure.
At the end of the day, Dale, though, I don't even need a trailer to be excited for these movies. Like,
I agree.
I could go trailerless and still be so excited and hyped
Yeah.
and see the
Mhm.
movie on opening day regardless, like no matter
Yeah.
what.
Yeah,
So
I feel
it
like
was fun, but
yeah,
I don't
I
know.
feel like these reveals, especially when you're bringing in all these characters from other universes, not even from Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not like you're bringing back like Pietro from Age of Ultron, which would have been huge, but it's like you're bringing back a character who's introduced in 2002 along with his original villain, Willem Dafoe, who, by the way, I read would not take the role unless he did his own stunts, which is fucking cool. He is awesome.
Good
But
for you.
like it was just one of those things. I was like, just why did they show us so much? I
Mhm.
didn't want to know Goblin and Electro and Lizard and Sandman were there. Like, show us Doc Ock, fine, because Alfred Molina spoiled he was in it, way back when. But like, it was just unfortunate to me. But
I I
I
will
did like it.
say
Yes,
the only reason why I would ever want Toby, Andrew, and Tom all to be together is to discuss the differences between their webbing. And they did have that conversation. They
I did
did
like
talk
that.
about how, and it was very funny. I was thinking it the whole time because I don't know, I have my mind's in the gutter, I guess. But Tom did make the joke that was like, "So, do you make your webbing anywhere else? Like,
Yeah,
does
because
it
it's weird.
come
It
out
just kind of comes
anywhere?"
out of because if you watch those movies back, it like doesn't even come out of his fingers. It doesn't come out of his
No,
like
it comes out of his
vein. It comes
wrist.
it
It
comes like
comes
right out of here. Yeah,
He has like
it's
a
so weird.
hole.
Like a
Ooh,
pore.
my
Yeah,
god.
I I've always thought that was a cooler version than like because it's like yeah, it's much different because Andrew I think scientifically makes the webbing and then like
Yes.
Tom it's like just built into his like Iron Man suit or whatever. But yeah, really interesting. And again, I think the movie got significantly better when the two of them came in, and I was worried for the opposite. I was worried it was just going to be an overdose of fan service, but I think having the two of them
Yeah.
there to discuss their different perspectives and like especially when you see MJ and Peter in love and it just kind of pans out to Andrew staring at them and kind of looking kind of somberly, it's like, ooh, like I gotta admit, Andrew Garfield was screwed over by his movies because I think he's a damn good Spider-Man, and I think this movie definitely showed his acting chops. I think he is definitely getting nominated for an Oscar for Tick Tick Boom, and I think this is going to help his campaign a lot because I think people are going to see this and be like, Andrew Garfield's fucking great because he really is.
He's
I think
always
of
been great.
I think of
Yeah.
these three actors. I don't know
Yes.
at this point. I love all three. I am sold on all three. Tom did sell me in this movie because it wasn't just the quips everywhere. Like he actually got
Sure.
some dramatic moments, which I've been longing for ever since Infinity War. I'm like, give him those moments, and they finally did it. Whereas I feel like the other two movies were a little lighter. But Toby, I've always loved, obviously for nostalgia's sake, but I really loved Andrew in this. He was the standout of the three, just because I was not expecting that. Because I love Andrew, but I just didn't love his movies. But now watching it,
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I want to go back and see his movies because, he's a damn good actor, and I think this really helps his Oscar campaign because people are going to be like, oh, Andrew, we love him. We saw him as Spider-Man, and the critics and not the critics, but the press gave him so much shit. Every interview for Tick Tick Boom was all about Spider-Man, and that man,
Mhm.
thank God he can relax now. He deserves a break because Toby didn't get
Dude.
all that roasting because Toby wasn't in the press for other movies. Andrew had to
Yeah.
promote two whole movies, Eyes of Tammy Faye and Tick Tick Boom, both which are going to get Oscar nominations for other categories and stuff. Like Jessica Chastain might win an Oscar for Eyes of Tammy Faye, yet everyone's just wants to hear about Spider-Man, and it's like
Yeah.
give the man a break. So I'm
Yeah.
glad he gets that break now.
I gotta say, that man, he played me the fool. I don't think I'll ever trust a man ever again because Andrew Garfield acted his ass off in every interview, every time he had to do press.
Mhm.
He had me convinced. He
Yeah.
said he wasn't in the movie. I believed him. I
Yeah.
ate up every single word. I said, yeah, you're right, Andrew. You're not in the movie. And maybe I was just blinded by my own denial and pride. But I was just like, I really believe that this guy's not in it, guys. We all need to stop expecting it.
and
And
I
he
don't blame
fucking
him for
was.
lying. I don't blame him for lying because I don't think he was allowed to say. And that's why
I mean,
also
what
just
else are
having
you gonna say? You have to like put up a good fight and
yeah,
say like, no, I'm absolutely not in it. Like you can't sit there and be like
right.
sketchy about it because then
Mhm.
people are gonna be like, see, he's in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
What
I
really
honestly, yeah, that was crazy. Sorry, go ahead.
because I really don't like watching interviews like before I see the movie because
But
like
these were
I don't know.
everywhere. It was
The
unavoidable.
more the more I hear them talk about it, the more I'm, like, putting together, like, theories and pieces together in my
Right.
brain, and I just don't
Mhm.
want it, like, I just wanna watch it for what it
Mhm.
is. But there was one interview that I didn't even watch, like, I didn't even click on myself, it just, like, came up on TikTok, and I
Yeah,
shoulda kept
TikTok's the worst for
scrolling,
that. Well, worst for that. And especially
and
going back after watching the movie, TikTok right now, the first second shot of Toby, Andrew, and Tom. So I'm glad we saw it when we saw it because I
yeah,
would have been so pissed. I don't
I
go on
needed to
TikTok
see that
unless I
movie.
saw it, but yeah, it's disrespectful what people are doing. I know like the whole like, well then just stay off of TikTok, but people have their lives. Some
Okay,
people
but
are, on TikTok a lot, but also like can't see this movie till midway through the week. Like
just
be
wait until
respectful.
Monday to post your silly little
Or
TikTok.
put 10
Or
seconds before of just like
yeah,
Spider-Man
yeah,
spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2. That's all you have to do, the bare minimum. What we did, we said at the beginning of the review, we're talking about spoilers, and that's all we had to
yeah.
do. Anyone else who kept watching, that's on them. But like TikTok to just open an app and then be like, oh, yep, whole childhood nostalgia. Yep, it's there. Like, anyway, what were you
What
saying? Sorry. About the
No,
press
no worries.
and
So
the
I saw
interviews.
one TikTok, one split second of like an interview on Jimmy Kimmel, and he took the shot of,
The
Lizard like
Brazilian trailer. Yep.
looking back at something or whatever he was doing, and they were like, and Jimmy Kimmel was like, "So what's going on there?" And the cast was so bad about hiding it. They were
Yeah.
just like, Tom was like, "Oh, it's a bird," and I was like, dude, you have to do better than that because now
Yeah.
you just told me that Andrew Garfield and Tobey
Yeah.
Maguire are in the movie, and I'm mad at you for
I
it.
will say Tom is the worst at press junkets. And I love the guy, but he is the worst. I mean, he literally spoils so much. And even if he doesn't spoil, his hesitancy, he's not a good actor in real life.
Yeah,
Like,
he
I
doesn't
don't,
think on his feet.
I'll rephrase because someone's going to take that and twist it, but
He's not a good
he's
actor in
not
real
good
life.
at playing, he's not good at playing the character of Tom Holland who's supposed to know nothing. He's good at playing the character of Peter Parker and he's good at being himself, but he's not good at playing a different version of himself.
They
So,
need to stop telling him things.
they need to just send Benedict Cumberbatch and Zendaya on the press junkets because Benedict Cumberbatch is one of the coolest dudes in the world. Like I saw him live when I saw Power of the Dog. He's such a joy in person. He's really good at press junkets and interviews. Even bring Jon Favreau along. He's directed Iron Man. Like he can just go up there and give you very vague answers. Like you don't need Tom. People are gonna go see it regardless of who's in it. Like you do not need your biggest star who spoils everything to be doing all the press runs for it. You don't.
Sure.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about one character that I was a little disappointed in.
Okay, wait,
And
let me
that
guess. Let me
okay.
guess. We've already talked about Doctor Strange. We've talked about the Spider-Man. Talked about the villain. Is it Happy?
No.
Oh, who are you disappointed in, Kels?
J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh,
I thought
forgot
that he
about
was
him.
going to be a way bigger
Yeah.
antagonist, a way bigger obstacle on the road for
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man, and I
Yeah.
guess he made his life a little bit harder, but I feel like in Tobey's movies, like he's such a direct threat
Mm-hmm.
to his
Yeah.
existence. And I just felt like I just kind of wrote down, I was like, JJJ, he was just kind of there, you
Mm-hmm.
know? I didn't
Yeah.
really need him. I mean, it was cool. It was like, oh yeah, nostalgia, great. But it was like I don't know. I think he could have been involved more. I think they could have utilized his character
For
a little
sure.
bit better.
Yeah, I wasn't even looking because his name. I'm looking at the cast list. His name isn't until like the bottom paragraph. Yeah, like just other characters that they kind of like had to throw in there, like Betty Brant, and then like the three coaches in the high school. Like I just feel like they were just there to be there. Like they really like that whole
I
first
know,
chunk. It was
but
just
they're
kind of like
funny.
yeah, but again, like I would have liked a little bit more. Maybe they're also in the lab. Like maybe they show up in the lab and they're like, "Wait, what is going on?" And like Andrew and Toby are like, "Hey," and they're like, "Why are
Oh,
you using
yeah,
the school's
maybe.
lab?" Like they could have incorporated them a little bit better. Like things like that where I'm just like,
Yeah.
I get why they're in it, but like they didn't have much
Honestly,
of an impact for me.
that was honestly, I was going into this movie and I was like, "Oh, damn, like that means like we're not going to see them in the school, so they're not going to be like the teachers aren't going to be there because the teachers were like one of my favorite parts of Far From Home, like
Yeah.
their entire back and
Mhm.
forth, everything that was going on there.
Yeah.
They were so funny. Like it's just like I'm doing my best, Julius. Like that iconic line
Yeah.
on the bus. I was happy that they were included in some aspect.
Yeah.
I was happy that they were there.
Yeah.
Even
And I
if it
love
was just a little tad.
yeah, and I love the
Little
stuff with
nugget.
Flash Thompson too. I think they used his character very well too. Like I loved the idea of him getting clout by
Oh,
like
yeah.
by the him coming out as coming out as Spider-Man. I guess that's the best word for it. But yeah, I thought they handled his character well. And I like how they keep making him look douchier and douchier every movie. It
Yeah.
really works because Tony Revolori is not a douche. He's like this sweet little nerdy guy, and they made him like this like jock. Because in the Raimi trilogy, it's what's his name, um, the guy from Magic Mike, I think.
I can
Is it?
picture his face, but I don't
Yeah,
know
but
his
like
name.
he's like a jock, so it's really
Yeah.
funny to see like Tony Revolori's take on it. Like I've always enjoyed him, and
Yeah.
even in the smallest roles. So yeah, like overall, really well cast too. Like I mean, just seeing those villains back. I mean, Willem Dafoe. I saw a tweet saying like Willem Dafoe always understands the assignment, and I think this is a great example of that because he
Yeah.
really did,
100%.
really did. Even Marissa Tomei, gone too soon. I love her. I love her. I'm
Yeah.
so sad.
That's tough. That's a tough loss.
Yeah, I expected like one more loss. Like I expected something else big in like the second act, but I'm glad
I
they didn't.
guess the loss is him not getting back to his normal
Yeah,
life.
I guess Peter
The
is the
loss
last
might
death. Yeah,
the loss might very well be MJ and Ned. We might just never
yeah,
see them again.
yeah. I mean, that I just when I think of this movie, I think the first half I was like, yeah, okay, you're introducing these villains. Like I wasn't super on board yet. We saw it all in the trailer, but that second half with Andrew and Toby coming in, their dynamic, but also just like the stuff at the end with him, going into the coffee shop. That scene is like probably top 5 MCU scenes that aren't action. Like I loved that scene just because it was like
Mhm.
just that heartbreak you felt, but then also like that like a kind of optimism for a fresh new start. I think this is one of my favorite endings to a MCU movie for sure because like it ended in a great
Mhm.
spot, but also opened the door for more. If we do get a Gwen Stacy, is there someone in particular you would like to see? We haven't talked about that,
Play
but like
play Gwen
yeah,
Stacy?
like what
Me.
actresses do you want to? Okay, there you go,
Kelsey
Kelsey.
Kilpatrick. I'm
Yeah.
available.
So if you win the trivia match, you will also get a chance to audition for Gwen Stacy in Final Callbacks on no, I'm kidding. That would be
Oh,
really
are you? Good thing
imagine
you
if that was
said
the
you were
prize.
kidding because I totally would have believed you.
That's funny. Yeah, I saw a few good ones. Anya Taylor-Joy, love her. Would love to see her play Gwen Stacy.
Fine.
That'd be fun. Okay. Um,
No, I don't mean that in a bad way.
right.
Sorry.
No, that was just the one I saw that I
Oh.
really liked. I
No,
don't
she'd
have a
be cool.
list. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of people who could probably do it. I also saw what's her name from Riverdale. Um, the one who dated.
Lily Reinhart.
Yeah, she'd be good too. Because you want that
She'd
blonde
be a
hair.
cute Gwen Stacy. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Or you could even do like a person of color. Like I'd love to see, the new up and comer Rachel Zegler, who was just in West Side Story. I'd love to see her in the MCU at some point, even though she's tied down with Shazam right now. But she is going to be in the Snow White Disney
Interesting.
remake, so she'll still be with Disney in some facet. But yeah, like there's a lot of up and coming actresses I'd love to see in the MCU. Like I'm excited to see what they do with his college days. Maybe we'll get a Harry Osborn. I've heard a lot of people begging for Timothy Chalamet to be cast as Harry Osborn, and I think it would
Oh
work
my
really well
God.
as like the little rich kid. Like
I
I
don't
don't.
even know if like Timothy Chalamet would take that because he was up for Spider-Man. Like he's gonna be like, I
Yeah.
don't want to be his best friend.
I think I don't know. The paycheck's
know.
always good. Who knows? Any last thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home? I can't believe like we saw it. We've already talked about it. Like it seems like we've been talking about this movie for so
Yeah.
long. It's
I mean
crazy.
it I mean it I feel like it definitely had a lot to do with, like, our audience. It was opening night. It was so
Mhm.
exciting, but it did feel like something as big as Endgame, really. Like,
Yeah.
it did feel like it had those stakes and that weight, and it
And that
it
fan
really.
service. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And even but I will say though, like Endgame, like I feel like the fandom did call some of the things that was going to happen. Like we all expected a Tony death. We all expected something to happen to Cap where he wasn't going
Mhm.
to be Cap anymore. Like,
Yeah.
but it still was filled with so much more surprises that we all walked away from Endgame being like, yes, like
Mhm.
Tony's death was sad, but also we can just celebrate how great that movie was.
'Cause
You know what I
also I
mean?
believe they only showed stuff from before the 5 years later. I think that's
Yeah,
also a big part of it too, or maybe, like, a little bit of, like, the time heist stuff, but, like,
yeah.
I think that was a big thing too, was
It
that
was
whole
very
time jump was
minimal
very
there.
jarring.
Yeah,
Infinity War 2, we had no idea Thanos would actually pull it off. Like, we really didn't. I
yeah.
fully expected them to stop him at the end of that movie.
They edited a lot in that trailer just
Mhm.
to even
Yeah.
like the shot. There's like a shot in the trailer of Captain America like holding his fist open before he can close it, and even in that shot, they edited out some of the time
There you go.
stones. Hello, the
Oh,
Infinity
maybe the time stone.
Stones.
It's one of them.
They edited out some of the Infinity Stones so it looked like they still had a shot. When in fact, at that point in the movie, he has all of them except
The
Vision,
Yeah.
the Mind
That's
Stone. So
that's a very good,
like
theory,
they,
like, or
know.
observation, yeah. I almost, like yeah, I wanna say this is a great movie that was done worse by the marketing, which I never think is the case. I usually am,
Mhm.
like, a little bit underwhelmed by the like, Shang-Chi, I was like, "Eh, marketing didn't do anything for me," and then seeing the movie, I was like, "That was really good."
Mhm.
Eternals too, like, I think this movie suffered from the marketing more than anything, but that's not a critique on the film. Like, if I'm looking at the film itself, it's much better than the experience of the film in context of the marketing, if that makes sense. I don't know what I'd give it on a scale of 1 to 10. We don't really do that here, but I don't know, maybe a 7 or 8 range, probably. I don't know.
I would say that as well.
Yeah, like probably low
Definitely
8,
nothing
high
lower
7.
than nothing lower than a 7. It
No,
was
like
good.
it was great. Or good, yes. But yeah,
I
it's
don't
interesting
know.
because we've gotten so many movies this year. Like, what do we almost want to do a pseudo little ranking next week once we finish Hawkeye of like all these things? Because we've gotten WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier,
Oh,
Hawkeye,
you wanna
What
rank
If,
everything from the
Loki,
year?
Black Widow, Eternals, Shang-Chi, and Spider-Man. So we'll have 9 projects to rank. We can do it if you want. Um,
I could get behind that. I'd love to do that.
all right, cool. So next week we will talk about let me take the spoiler ban off just so if people are for some reason still watching it with their mute on. um,
They sat through the whole hour waiting for the spoiler ban to go
right.
off.
They're like, oh, phew, now we can hear what they actually have to say. Yeah, next week we're going to be talking about the previous episode of Hawkeye, which we haven't even talked about. That did come out, but we figured actually watching it now, it makes sense that we could kind of group that with the finale because it feels very much like this kind of like propel. I don't know what I'm looking for. Like the next it's like a bridge to this finale. Like I feel like it was kind of setting up everything before this epic finale. So we'll talk about the last 2 episodes of Hawkeye, episodes 5 and 6 next week, and then we will kind of pseudo rank them very casually. It's not like an official ranking because rankings can change, but we'll rank these 9
Mhm.
projects. I think they're 9. Let me just do one more time. WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, Hawkeye, Eternals, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Spider-Man. Yeah, 9. So we'll rank these 9 projects how we thought they were.
Oh, did you say what if?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So 5 shows, 4 movies. We'll rank them and just why don't we throw Venom in there too? We'll throw Venom so it's a top 10 because I like the idea of having a top
Okay.
10 doing
Okay.
Venom too. I just like that. 9 is just
No, I like a nice even number
yeah.
myself.
My friend doesn't like the number 9, and ever since then I've been trying to stay clear of 9. Just he's like I hate the number 9. I'm like that's your pet peeve, really? But it's a thing. One of my good friends. So but it's interesting. Yeah, like we'll do a top 10 ranking those just to kind of get a like honestly there's nothing I haven't liked this year. There's one thing that I'm like I don't need to watch it again. Everything else I'm like I want to watch it again. I would like to watch it again. They're all good. It'll be interesting to see how you rank them and how I rank them, and then we're done for the year because next week's our last episode, and then in January we will be kicking off the podcast. We'll wait a few weeks. We're not going to just jump in January 1st because we need a little bit of a break. We've been doing this every week for the past 51 weeks. So that is a lot. That's almost a full year.
Mhm.
Pretty much a full year. And we will jump into trivia, Marvel trivia, where Kelsey will be taking on JD Domash and Zach Love for the first ever Marvel belt, and they will hold it as long as the winner will hold it as long as they want until there's another challenger who has earned the right to another title shot. 5 rounds of trivia. It'll be a lot of fun. Kelsey, have you come up with a name yet, or are you still going to save that for later?
I'll tell you next week. The
Okay,
last
so next week
episode of the year. I will
the
reveal
name
my
reveal,
name.
your wrestler name, and whether or not you're gonna play it very heroic or you're gonna be a villain in the league. Who knows? But I've already seen some smack talk behind the scenes from some of these competitors, so it'll be a lot of fun to just kind of see what's gonna go down. Oh yeah, that's right, Kelsey. You're not on that group chat, but Zach has been talking a lot of trash, and on our podcast, Recipe for Reality, he has also been throwing some challenges out there. So it'll be interesting
Maybe
to
my
see how
Slytherin
this
side
goes.
has to come out because I
Maybe.
don't take trash talk.
Ooh, there you go. But yeah, Kelsey will be competing for trivia, and obviously she will not know the answers. I will have someone else, my good friend Chad, who hosts Picture This, coming on to help me ask the questions to these 3 competitors, and may the best man or woman or Nexus being win. Cannot wait for it. But yeah, next week's our season finale. We cannot wait to wrap up season 1, and season 2 is going to come with like a whole new intro, whole new look, whole new design. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna treat it like a real show. We're gonna up it for season 2. Season 2, Alfred Molina will be making a cameo as Doc Ock in one of our I'm kidding. But yeah, no, season 2 is gonna be fun of this podcast. But thank you for joining us for season 1. This is a big review. I know a lot of people are looking forward to. We're about an hour in, so we'll wrap it up now. Kelsey, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Kelsey A. Kilpatrick. You can find me on TikTok at Koz13, KOZ13, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Koz Productions.
And if you go on TikTok and you haven't seen this movie, good luck.
Good luck.
Twitter, Dylan_Randazzo. TikTok, Dylan Randazzo 417. Proceed with caution because, as I said, TikTok's a dangerous place nowadays. And then YouTube, Dill Pickle Movie Network, where you're watching this now. Or if you're listening on audio, go check us out on YouTube as well. Give us that follow and especially subscribe. Actually, follow and subscribe are the same thing. Give us that like and especially that subscribe. Look at that amazing journal. Yeah, if you're on audio, you are not seeing this view of this amazing journal. So if you go to a video, you will get to see this amazing journal that Kelsey's holding up. It literally says amazing on it. I'm not just calling it amazing.
Spidey.
It's a Spider-Man journal with a lot of good webbing and amazing bubble letters. So in yellow. So please go check it out on YouTube if you're listening on podcasts, and please give us 5 stars if you're listening on podcasts, and please tell your friends about it because we have shown up on a few people's Spotify top of the year podcast, and I've been very humbled by it. So keep listening to us, and again, keep our subscriber count up. I was trying to hit 200 subs by the end of the month. I don't know if we're gonna get there, but hey, if you all see this and you all want to help us, please share it and just tell people. All you have to do is have a Google or YouTube account and literally just hit subscribe. You can even turn your notifications off. I know there's a notification every time I post a video. Turn your notifications off so you don't even have to see it. But just subscribing to us really helps. Really helps us go the extra mile. Anyway, that was Dylan and Kelsey. Marvel-ous Movie Mondays. We'll see you next time. Bye.